Yeah, I went for sixth. I think they've still got, they can have a bit of muscle memory. I actually think, Dan Sargentson amongst, that recruiting squadron they've got, apart from Kevin Brown, who's the most overrated player to ever play in Super League. But I think they've recruited well. I think that they'll just be able to grind out a bit with that sort of group, and I think they'll have that togetherness still. They'll manage to keep that. So I think there'll be enough residual quality in there that they'll be able to keep sixth.
Me and you, Al, we've gone eighth. I mean, with the players they've lost, they've still got Ian Watson, so you can't write them off completely, can you? But eighth, why eighth?
I think last year has to be seen as a slight aberration in terms of the performances of other teams, as much as good as Salford were, certainly at the end of the year. I think other teams let themselves down, really, in particularly in the run-in. So you can't see lightning striking twice, but as you say, I don't see them being worried about relegation, which is ultimately in the longer term is progress.
Probably not a playoff run for them then, let's face it. I still expect them to pick up some impressive wins like they managed last year, but maybe a few more disappointing losses than they had to stump up to last year as well, overall, for them. I've got Evolds as the star man because he's the one out of that key three that's still there.
Yes, yeah, me too.
Of course, Tuilola here is another option there.
Yep. Any more to say about Salford?
I'm done.
Cool.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the defending champions then. So St Helens. What can you say about this? Should we hear from the fans first? So Bob says, "What do you expect from your side?" He simply says, "Everything."
Well, Frogmore similarly says, "Back-to-back Premiership glory, baby."
Josh says, same as last year with a more aggressive defence, better performances on long-distance away games, e.g. Catalan, as we were ridiculously poor in any games outside the north of England last year, and we can't afford to do the same this year.
Paul Caswell says, there were many special nights for Saints in 2019. It'll be hard to match what Justin achieved, but 2020 will be the year of the Wolf.
Yeah, I found that hard to read because with two sides that are Wolves in the Super League, Paul's kind of going for the coach nickname thing there. It's kind of edging towards, setting yourself up for a fall against the Wolf Pack or the Wolves. St David, who'll be joining us after the World Club Challenge game at the end of February, or towards the end of February, says, whilst we have the same group of players who dominated last term, the big unknown is our new coach. Replacing Holbrook, who I think was the best coach of the last decade, will be tough. Tonga's performances are encouraging, but frankly, who knows? I am being optimistic for now. Come on, you Saints, on to glory, starting with the World Club Challenge against the Roosters.
And Tim Appleton says, closer competition, more youth coming through.
So we've all predicted that they're going to win the grand final, but where do we think they're going to finish in the league, Alan? The listeners think first. What do you think? Alan?
Has he gone off to record his other podcast?
I don't know.
Just midway through. I mean, that would be a bold play. It's a very good podcast, to be fair. I listened to it. Latest episode this morning on the tube, but
it is for anyone who's wanting to know about Alan's other podcast, it's called Single Ticket, which is about going to see films with his film critic wife in the main in the lead chair there, and Alan definitely backing her up very 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 well, but he's doing with us right now. He's gone.
The twist is they don't do it together. Is this the one where everybody leave? Yeah, is this? How long have we got until I've got to go?
Well, I think we just start talking about it. Let's talk about this team and who do you think? How do you think they're going to go to?
Yeah, I think that they nailed on for the hubcap again. I mean, again, you look at the losses column and there's no one you're crying about really there. Danny Richardson was a bit part player last year. There will be questions around how Wolf fits in. and if he can get them howling. But other than that, I think, and again, I can't see anyone who's realistically going to challenge them consistently over 200 game season.
I mean, yeah, I've got them finishing first as well. As does Sarah, as does Alan. You assume more of the same from Saints, don't you? I can't believe a new coach is going to come into this setup and change things too much, and they've got enough experienced players and leaders around that side to make it work out, I think. So I can't see any change. It's a little bit of a concern, I guess. Depth maybe is a little bit of a concern too. They'll rely on the kids, but the kids did so well last year, so there's no reason to say they're not going to provide adequate short-term injury in any gaps that come up this year. I suppose the only real doubt is if they lose Coote or Lomax for any length of time. Is
or both of them,
at
I suppose, is
ready?
the question. Yeah.
And
yeah,
is Lewis Dodd at 18 or 19? I think he is ready to play long spells in Super League. I'm not so sure.
I suppose the question is if they lost two together, that then puts them into question mark territory. But they've got enough quality around them that they could probably move a few people around, shuffle a bit, and stick Louis McCarthy back in the centres just for old time's sake, and still probably muddle through to the winning against most sides in Super League on a weekly basis.
Yeah. Starman, I'm going with Thompson. It might be his last year in the Super League, so let's make the most of it because he has been fantastic for 2.5 seasons now. Rising Star, I picked out Matty Costello. I think there's going to be an idea that he's going to be a starter next year. Potentially in this St Helens setup. And I think he was really good. You never noticed when Percival was out last year because Costello was so good. So I think Costello is my rising star to watch for the Saints. I think we've vamped enough on St Helens. We're not getting Alan back for St Helens. He might join us in a minute. So we'll see if he turns up. But Tim, let's move on to the talk of the town, the Toronto Wolfpack.
Yeah, so that's it. We've got a lot of fan views on this one, so that's positive. That already they've got an engaged fan base.
Definitely.
So, and this is what we talk about nowadays. This is what people want. So this is what we've got.
Eyeballs on the Wolfpack. If they get a TV deal sorted.
I wonder where you were going there. At Bryson BLT says adjustment period from TWP. Adjust to the higher level of competition, defensive games, occasional end-to-end action.
David Ulche says make the playoffs. He expects them to make the playoffs. Ulch, maybe.
Yeah.
Ulch, yeah.
Genghis Campbell said squad's not big enough to cope with Super League. Mid-table mediocrity best case unless they have more players lined up. Was this before or after Sonny Bill Williams signed?
This was after, I think. This was recent.
Okay.
He waited till the end to put his balls on the line with his predictions there. Ian McCall said 4-4-5, bringing flair and excitement. SBW, tough games and a couple of chances to stuff their northern myopic views up some moaning flat cappers' asses. Oh, your optimism and bravado, Ian. It's enjoyable, but at the same time, you got 23 players, 22 in some people's cases, they would say, because we think one of them's already on loan at Featherstone. We think.
Jay says Toronto to make the top 5.
Martin Simpson said, I'd be happy finishing 6th to 8th. Criticism of our championship players has been over the top, and I expect players like Andrew Dixon to surprise a few. I don't think Toronto will lose heavily, providing the small squads avoid too many injuries. I also expect opposition fans to go out of their way to express their disinterest in Toronto and SPW, especially if they get a decent crowd.
Randall McEwen.
Toronto will get a decent crowd. Toronto will average home attendances in their 10 or 11 proper home games that will rival every club outside of the 4 that regularly get 10,000 crowds. Let's put that on the line. Anyone who says they don't have fans is talking nonsense. They have a lot of fans, as this is proving as we get on to the next one.
And they will bring a increase on the overall Super League attendance.
Yes.
They will. Because, especially with London going out, they will bring a massive increase to the average. guaranteed. And to be fair, there'll be noisy, passionate fans who make that a real horrible place to go to, plus the travel.
Yeah.
So it's not to be underestimated, actually, the atmosphere that will be generated, especially if you imagine that first home opener of the first proper home game, it's going to be really something. And I'd love to know what they're doing what they've done in terms of season ticket sales, because I bet they've really gone for it, and a lot of people have really got on board for that. Anyway, back with the fan views, and Randall McEwen or McKeown or
amazing. I'm always delighted when a new McEwen gets involved. It's fantastic. So Randall McEwen
says, if you want an explanation to that joke, just keep listening. My team will be competitive and will finish in the middle. They will bring more fans to the RFL.
Sandy Shipley, the world famous Sandy Shipley, expects them to finish in the top of the mid of the table.
Stuart Wood says comfortably avoid relegation.
And Tony Hatton says mid-table, hopefully. Obviously, last season they were promoted to the Super League, Tim. The listeners averaged out a final prediction of 9th place. Me and Sarah both went 10th. We're maybe questioning the squad depth more than you and Alan are. Alan, are you back?
I'm back. Sorry about that.
We'll let you just give yours because we haven't heard your voice for a while, and then Tim can talk a bit more about the Wolfpack.
Yes, sorry, I had a few technical difficulties at this end. The hamster had to get going again in the wheel with the internet in Yorkshire. I had Toronto 6th. I'm a bit more positive. They are definitely thin in terms of their squad, definitely. But I just think that the winning habit is a good habit to have, and they've certainly got that. So I'm a bit more positive than the average.
Tim, you're even more positive than the average. So you tell us about where you think they're going to finish, how you think they're going to get there, and who the key men are in that part of things.
I think it's a few things. I went for them finishing 4th. I think it's optimistic. But then if you think about it, part of it is that home factor. So when they've got those proper home games, they're going to be hard to beat. Plus the travel. So it's going to be a difficult proposition, and actually they've got they've obviously gone for quality rather than quantity in playing terms, which is a risk. But if they do keep the majority of people fit, and or there's no off the field misdemeanors or nothing happens, then they've recruited well. You look at the likes of Brad Singleton and Richie Cunningham. They're clever signings because they're going to get you boring yards. They're going to nip round the back to, just nip through. It's going to be difficult players. And then the Sonny Bill Williams factor. And you bet he's attracting an extra defender just by someone who's in awe of him. Therefore, that's created space for the rest of the field. So if he gets an offload away, then that's them in. So I think that they could do it. I think they've actually, because they've got that settled squad, and they'll have a very close squad because of they go through that flying back and forth like nobody else does. If the schedule, if they don't get too worn down and ground down by that schedule of going back and forth, then I think they've got a really good chance to do well. And I think, as I've come back to lots of times, I think that home advantage is going to be key for them. It's whether they can pick up a few early season perhaps wins that would set them off on some momentum. That would definitely see them, where they could go. I mean, it would be, as much as anything, it would be a fantastic story if they did get, through into the playoffs and potentially even at Old Trafford.
You're getting bolder by the comment. Because I've gone at the other end, I think I'm going to balance it out a bit. But first of all, it's hard to pick a rising star, isn't it, with a team that's got no youth to it. But I really think Blake Wallace can be a Super League player. I know he's 27. He's not a bolter from out of nowhere.